Luke Inman back again in the eDraft.com studios, cutting right to the chase today, here to bring you some value plays for Week 2 in daily league format, specifically FanDuel.com. Now, these guys are flying under the radar and are going to give you great bang for the buck, allowing you to go get an elite player at their respective position later on, helping you build the ultimate winning FanDuel lineup. Saying that, let's start at the top with the quarterback. While he may not own the physical attributes of a Big Ben or a Joe Flacco, FITZPATRICK, a Harvard grad, is known as one of the more intelligent quarterbacks of the league. But more importantly, after playing for teams like the Houston Texans and St. Louis Rams, FITZPATRICK for the first time is surrounded by some serious, legitimate talent. Not only does he have Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker to sling the rock to, but Chris Ivory behind him in the running game and a phenomenal defense behind him. As it pertains to Week 2, however, the Jets travel to Indianapolis, where FITZPATRICK is likely going to be forced to play catch-up to Andrew Luck and the Colts' potent offense. For just $6,700, I love my chances with FITZPATRICK in a controlled environment and where he's going to have to put the ball in the air a lot. For a proven passer with two proven wideouts, FITZPATRICK's potential for the money is as good as it gets and will allow me to spend big money elsewhere later on. If you've followed along with my content on eDraft.com throughout the draft and the preseason, then you know for a grown man like myself, my man crush on AMEER ABDULLAH is downright weird. Luckily for me, all Abdullah did in Week 1 was prove me right, as he took the first handoff of his NFL career to the house for a touchdown. With his recent success, the Lions will have no choice but to increase Abdullah's workload and touches as he pushes Joique Bell to the sideline and becomes their legitimate number one back. Now, while the entire world and their grandmas start catching up on Abdullah, this could be the last week you can get him for a ridiculously cheap price at just $6,400. Combine that with the fact Abdullah gets to line up against easily the worst run defense from Week 1 in the Minnesota Vikings, and you will not find another cheap player that offers you the big scoring potential like Abdullah. If you plan on entering your lineup into a tournament-style setting, then you need to understand the importance of picking guys in your lineup that won't be owned in a large percentage of your league. And Shane Vereen is exactly that. From the three-headed monster that is the Giants' backfield, nobody caught a single pass from Eli Manning other than Shane Vereen. In fact, Vereen led the entire Giants' offense through the air with 4 catches for 46 yards on 5 targets. The Giants play the Atlanta Falcons at home on Sunday, who were picked apart by the Eagles' offense with short, underneath dump-off routes to Darren Sproles. Undoubtedly, the Giants will be ready to copy and paste that same technique with Vereen, who in the passing game could easily rack up 7 to 8 catches and find the end zone in what looks to be one of the more higher-scoring games of the week. Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? John Brown came through for us last week as an eDraft sleeper, and as long as he continues to trend on the cheap side, then I see great value in him. Brown caught 4 passes on a solid 7 targets and a touchdown as he gives Carson Palmer growing confidence by the day to keep throwing the ball his way. Like I said last week, what this play boils down to is John Brown's pure talent, as he's already drawn comparisons to guys like Antonio Brown and Marvin Harrison with his combination of blazing speed, precise routes, and reliable hands. The Cardinals travel to Soldier Field to take on the Bears in Week 2, who were among the league worst in defense last season. In Week 1, the Bears gave up 3 passing touchdowns and could have had 4. Simply don't have the talent to line up with teams that have 3 solid starting wide receivers, such as the Cardinals. At $6,200, John Brown is a safe play to score in the double digits, but at any point could explode for a big game like he did last year when he had a healthy Carson Palmer. I picked Pierre Garcon last week as a sleeper, and with the news of Deshaun Jackson out at least a few weeks, I like him even more now in week 2. Garcon caught 6 of his 8 targets last week for a team-high 74 yards, but more importantly, grew an obvious rapport with Kirk Cousins as that game went on. Remember, it wasn't long ago, just back in 2013, when Garcon caught 113 balls with over 130 targets. A large majority of those came from, you guessed it, Kirk Cousins. Pierre Garcon's a completely different receiver when he has a true pocket passer like Cousins under center, and while the Redskins will host a tough defense in the St. Louis Rams in week 2, Garcon will receive the lion's share of targets once again through the air. Garcon should easily have double-digit targets this Sunday, meaning a 10-catch game isn't that far-fetched. For just a measly $5,400, the potential of Garcon taking just one of those catches to the house is well worth the risk. For just $5,900, get him while you still can, because soon Tyler Eifert will be up there with Rob Gronkowski and Jimmy Graham, costing you a pretty penny. Eifert showed off just exactly why he was the 21st overall pick last week against the Raiders when he hauled in 9 passes for 104 yards and 2 touchdowns. What's most impressive about Eifert's game on Sunday was his 12 targets, proving that the Bengals truly understand that behind A.J. Green, Eifert is the clear-cut number 2 target in that passing game. Even against a tougher opponent like the San Diego Chargers, a healthy Tyler Eifert is close to impossible to guard one-on-one, especially matched up with smaller linebackers up the seams and down in the red zone. Much like AMEER ABDULLAH, the Surface fans are starting to catch on to Eifert and just how good he really is, so snag him up now for a bargain price because it will likely be his last. Remember, these are value plays, meaning grabbing just 3 or 4 of these guys puts you in great position to go get a few elite players at their own respective position. Here's an example of a team we here at eDraft are submitting on Sunday, and as you can see here, rolling with Ryan Fitzpatrick, AMEER ABDULLAH, and John Brown for cheap allowed us to put into play guys like Adrian Peterson, Julio Jones, and DeAndre Hopkins. Kickers are usually a crapshoot, so I don't break the bank on them. Instead, what I like to do is target a guy who's playing in what should be a high-scoring game, much like Josh Brown against the Falcons. Defensive plays that make sense for me: the St. Louis Rams on the road against the Redskins. I'm betting against Marcus Mariota to repeat his Week 1 performance, which is why I like the Browns' underrated defense at home against the rookie quarterback. And if Luke Kuechly passes concussion protocol, then the Carolina Panthers at home against the newly named starting quarterback and Ryan Mallett. Remember, these are just tips and fantasy sleeper advice, but remember, this is supposed to be fun and stress-free, so don't spend too much time and start to overthink things. Instead, go with your gut, as it's usually right. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe below, and stay tuned for plenty more fantasy and NFL advice as the season rolls on. For everybody at eDraft Sports, I'm Luke Inman, signing out.